Hello, welcome to the iTNet Tech Update. This month, as I've mentioned in past weeks, is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So in honor of the season, we're giving you tips and tricks on how to avoid spooky hackers. Today's topic is ransomware. We're going to talk about what it is and how a business can fall victim to it. Hello, I'm Michael Kanet, CEO and founder of iTernal Networks. And every Friday at 1 p.m. Pacific time on our Facebook, Twitter, and my personal LinkedIn, as well as YouTube, we discuss the latest tech and cybersecurity news that might affect you and your business. At the end of our live session, I'll be answering questions from the audience. So if you have any tech or cybersecurity related questions, get them ready. I'll be leaving plenty of time to cover those at the end. So I also like sharing information about the news. Things that I've seen in cybersecurity, different things. And so one thing that I saw this week is a study and a report that said that callback attack phishing scams have been increasing drastically. And what those are, maybe we can cover those in deeper on another topic, but what they are is essentially a hacker reaching out via email or something else, asking you to take an action, to contact them back, to download software, to do something. And the study says that more and more of these types of attacks are happening, right? So emails are happening where we're saying, hey, you need to download this software to update your security. And once it's downloaded, that, is a command and control, ransomware, various different hacking tools to allow those criminals to now access and manipulate your data on your systems. So one other thing to be aware of, we'll cover, I'm sure later this month, we'll cover more in phishing and different types of attacks, some more news on that. But this study did come out this week that those type of phishing scams have been increasing and should be aware of those. All right, on to the topic. We're going to talk about how do I get attacked by ransomware and what is ransomware, right? We talk about it frequently. It's in the news a lot. Some of you may know what it is, some of you may not, right? Some of you may have a high level understanding, but hopefully I can share some information here as we talk about it that help you have a better understanding of what it is. So ransomware or ransom malware, so it's malicious software that holds you ransom, right? So it's shortened to ransomware. It's a little bit easier to say, but it's a type of malware that prevents users from accessing their systems, their personal files, their data, and demands a ransom payment in order to regain access. So some people might think that a virus locked my computer, but ransomware is not a virus. It's a different form of malware than a virus. The earliest variants of ransomware were actually developed, this might be a little surprising to some of you, in the late 1980s. So kind of interesting history there. But in order for ransomware to be deployed, a ransomware threat actor, criminal hacker, must first get access to your network or to your device. They can't just, push a button and bam, there it is on your computer. They have to first gain access to be able to deploy this malicious software. And so some ways that they do that are as follows, right? One of them is called malspam. So they use spam or phishing where they send an email with malicious attachments to try to trick you into opening the attachment, taking the bait, right, so to speak. And basically it's unsolicited email, right? So it's unsolicited email that comes to a user that is used to deliver the malware load, right? So that email might be booby-trapped with attachments, the PDF or Word documents that then exploit vulnerabilities on your system. It might also contain links to malicious websites. One thing that's a common tactic of these criminals is they'll contain links that are legitimate, right? So if they're targeting your organization, or multiple organizations, that's typically what they do, right? They send out a whole bunch and see who bites. But what they do is they send out a bunch of these, and the links go to normal sites. There's no malicious software, there's nothing on there, so that when the email security systems initially see those links and scan through them, they're like, oh yeah, everything looks good here, sends it to the mailbox. Then they redirect those links to malicious sites on their end, right? And that's how they bypass some of the email security. So you always have to be wary of that. The hackers, these criminals, they're very intelligent people that are very sneaky at trying to find ways around your security. Another way that these criminals can spread ransomware is through malvertising or malicious advertising. And so what they do is they use online advertising to distribute malware with little or no user interaction required. Essentially, you're browsing the web, sometimes even legitimate sites. You can be directed to criminal servers without ever clicking on the ad. And what happens is the ad loads, right? The browser says, load this code through this ad, which is a reference to another system, right? Fox News, CNN, any website where you see advertising at the top, the bottom, the side, right? Those ads typically come from a third-party ad company. And so those ads just load in. The site that you're on, all it says is, that box says, hey, load an ad from this agency, and it loads it in on the back end. And so it could be legitimate websites. And that can load in URLs, and as your browser is loading that ad, sometimes a malicious payload can get loaded with it. So those malicious servers catalog details about your computer, your location, and then can select the malware best suited to deliver, right? So it can detect what's running on your computer, what protections you have, what vulnerabilities you might have, so that they can then target you with that thing. Another common tactic is spear phishing, which is a very targeted, right? So if they've identified an individual organization that they really want to target, that's what spear phishing is, right? So they might do spear phishing, very targeted emails to individuals within the organization or to yourself or even personally, right? With very detailed information. Usually that goes right along with one of their tactics of social engineering, right? So they use social media and other public-facing stuff to find out information as they're targeting you. They can also use social media to trick you, through posts, through ads, through messages in social media to be able to trick you to load that malicious payload on your system. So there's a few different types of ransomware. So I'm gonna start with the least scary of all of them, and that's scareware. So even though it sounds like scareware is probably the scariest, it's not, right? It's basically pop-ups, messages, things that display on your computer that indicate that something is wrong. But it's not accurate, right? So if you've ever gone to a website and had a pop up on your computer that says, hey, here's information about this product or that product, whatever. What this is, the scareware, it's the same thing, right? So it's an ad-like pop-up that looks like antivirus software, looks like system warnings. It looks like things to try to trick you into thinking that it's legitimate, right? That it's your antivirus software, right? It's Windows saying, hey, there's a problem with your computer. You need to call for help, right? Maybe it even says it's from the FBI, right? We've detected something on your system, right? There's different methods that they use, but they're all very similar, right? It's something designed to scare you into taking an action, whether it's clicking and downloading, whether it's contacting them, whatever, right? So it's going to indicate that there's a threat, that there's a problem, that you're at risk, and you have to help them. Call them and pay them money so that they can clean it up. And if you don't, do it, then it's going to, make it. Some of them even play noises and sound and make it very obnoxious, right? These really are, I don't know if I would say harmless, but they're pretty close to harmless, right? Typically, if you go Control-Alt-Delete, go to Task Manager, and kill your browser session, then it's gone. Because all it was a website that loaded. It didn't look like a website, but that's essentially what it was. It was a pop-up web browser that was indicating that thing. And once you close that out and clear out your cache, you're safe, right? Nothing was actually installed. Nothing was running on your computer aside from that browser window. Your files are essentially safe. So that's a very common one, and it's usually what the user does after that, right, where the real danger comes, right? If they fall for it, if they click on it, download something, if they call the number, of somebody that says it's Microsoft or Apple or whoever, right, and then give them access, that's where the real damage comes in those type of scenarios. But close out everything, restart your computer, contact your IT department, have them double check stuff. But usually it's a lot scarier, right, when you're in the middle of it, and it's really pretty harmless. One of the next ones, ransomware types, is called screen lockers. And so this is definitely a higher risk, higher threat level, right? Much higher than just the scareware. So when a lock screen ransomware gets on your computer, it does exactly what it says. It locks you out of your computer entirely. So you start up your computer, a full-size window appears. Often it looks like some sort of official FBI, U.S. Department of Justice, criminal agency, IRS, right? Something saying that there's illegal activity has been detected on your computer and that you have to pay a fine. And with information on how to contact them and how to pay the fine, so that they'll unlock your system and allow you to use it again. So that's another type of ransomware that's deployed. And then the third type, right? This is the scariest. This is the one we hear about in the news. This is the nasty stuff. These are the ones that snatch up your files and encrypt them and demand payment in order to decrypt and redeliver those files back to you. And so the reason that this type of ransomware is so dangerous is because once they get a hold of your files, no security software, no system restore, nothing can return them to you once they're encrypted, unless you have backup, right? If you have, which is why backup is so important. We talked about that a couple weeks ago, right? If you have backup and you get hit with ransomware, wipe your system, restore from backup, you're back up and running, you don't have to pay a ransom, you don't have to lose any data, you're up and running. But this is very, everything else on your computer, it's probably gonna look fine, right? You're gonna be able to start it up, you're gonna be able to log in, the files might look different on your computer, you're gonna have some sort of a pop-up message or open a file and it's gonna say, hey, these files have been encrypted, contact us and pay X number of Bitcoins or this or that in order to unlock that and return access to those files. There is no guarantee that paying the ransom will restore your files to you. There are types of ransomware that use random encryption keys. So they're literally, like the criminals, they don't even know what the encryption key is for them to unlock it for you. Those are not common, I will say, because if everybody used those and everybody knew that, well, you pay the ransom and you don't get it back, nobody's going to pay the ransom, right? These criminals, they want money. They want to guarantee the highest return that they can. So that's not a common one, but what is common is they'll accept the ransom, unlock them, wait a little period of time, and then lock them again. Or upload them to their systems. Maybe they did that before they encrypted them, right? And then they hit you with a second ransom saying, oh, these files with all your client data and confidential information, employee data, personal pictures, files, whatever, right? We're going to release those on the internet if you don't pay another ransom. And sometimes there's a third ransom and a fourth, right? Really, there's no end in sight once they know that you're willing to pay up and you have the capacity to do so. So those are the three types of ransomware out there. There are various ways of protecting against ransomware. I'm sure we'll cover some of that on our webinar later this month, which leads into my next thing. Our webinar this month, we're going to be talking about the top newsworthy cybersecurity breaches of 2022 and steps that you can take to avoid them in your organization and personally. That's going to be on Thursday, October 20th at 1 p.m. Pacific time. So, protecting your computer from cyber threats, your company data can be challenging. And since the pandemic, cyber attacks such as ransomware have been rising. And 43% of the increases have been against small businesses, according to a recent study by Verizon. We've learned a lot about cyber criminals and their tactics from the news and over the years. And so we're going to be digging in deep on some of these attacks that you've heard about. And we're going to talk about what we can learn from them and steps that we can take to protect yourself from those, from you being the next headline. All right. I'll post a link in the comments here so that you can register for that upcoming webinar. Let me look and see if we've got any comments coming in, any questions. I don't see any so far. If any of you do have questions, for those of you that are maybe watching this after the fact, not live, post them in the comments. I'll still get back to you. You can direct message me. You can email us. You can check out our website, itnet.works. Love to educate people provide information around cybersecurity to improve your business's cyber resilience. With no more comments, questions, hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.